Hello and welcome to the latest in my Cambridge iGCSE English Language Exam Top Tips, helping you prepare for the exams coming up in just a few weeks' time. And today we're looking at tip number 8, know the score. So in today's exam top tip, we're going to be looking at the criteria for assessment for the directed writing task. And we're looking specifically at the reading criteria as well as the writing criteria. And this video follows on from my previous tip number 7, building on the syllabus criteria specified there. So for the reading marks for the directed writing task, there are 15 marks available. And to earn the maximum number of points or to make sure you maximize your potential for scoring highly on this question, you want to do several things. You want to make sure, well, examiners are looking for your ability to be able to select appropriate evidence. So that's being able to identify relevant or appropriate ideas or arguments from both those passages that are presented to you and that you're basing your response on. You also need to be able to make inferences. So that links with what we talked about last time in video number 7, for exam tip number 7, about reading between the lines and being able to interpret and analyze what's being said and also what's being suggested, and not that isn't always necessarily expressed in explicit terms. The ideas that you mention and any development points that you make must be based on ideas in the passages, one or either or both of those passages that are presented with you to you. You want also to be able to not, sort of draw inferences, sensible inferences, and logical, valid inferences. Do not make things up or add in any additional information that isn't directly or indirectly linked to the ideas presented in both those passages. You also need to be able to detect when some of the passages, either of the passages might be biased and presenting a biased viewpoint. So looking at the context will help with that. And you need to then be able to show that you can question some of those ideas as well, and that you're thinking about the ideas that are presented. And that's essential if you want to score top band responses, in particular, top band marks. And that requires a level of evaluation that, the best responses would have typically. So we want to basically demonstrate a whole range of skills, being able to identify explicit and implicit meanings, as well as evaluating and presenting arguments, but also counter arguments and challenging some of those ideas and looking at the facts that are presented as well on the topic presented, on the topic that's under discussion. So for writing marks, this really revolves around or is based on the use of successful, sophisticated techniques that you want to incorporate into your piece. So things like the De Forest technique, so repetition, direct address, alliteration, rule of 3, using a wide range of different sentence types, so some short, dramatic, punchy sentences for effect, and also maybe one-line paragraphs or one-word sentences, as well as longer, complex sentences which explore details and explore ideas rather in more depth and detail. We want to have, it's very important that your writing is made up of paragraphs. This isn't, something to kind of, I know it seems obvious, but often students forget to paragraph their work. Remember, you can insert a / to indicate a paragraph break if you think you should really have split one chunk of text into 2 paragraphs. Paragraphs should have clear topic sentences. We want to try and incorporate connectives that link sentences within paragraphs, as well as connect and link paragraphs across your whole piece so that your whole text feels cohesive and coherent. We want to see sound organization, so a clear, structured response. For example, you might use a circular structure where you return to an idea that you mentioned in your opening paragraph at the end in your conclusion. So you come full circle. We also want to include strong sequencing of ideas. This is something that examiners really look for and reward, and that is going to be helped by the use of connectives in that previous bullet point. You might want to incorporate rhetorical questions, because that sort of gets the audience thinking. A range of effective, engaging, interesting vocabulary, sophisticated vocabulary for effect. And we want to see evidence of fluency, and fluency of ideas and expression. Linking on to sequencing, we want to see the transition, sort of a seamless transition between ideas and paragraphs, which creates a more polished feel and is evidence of careful thought and planning also. And last but not least, we want to see accurate spelling and grammar and effective and correct use of punctuation. And in the mark scheme, examiners say almost always accurate spelling and grammar. If you have one or two mistakes in there, you'll be forgiven. But if your piece is littered with mistakes, spelling mistakes, grammar, incorrect grammar, and so on, then you will not be able to achieve the marks that you would if you had very good spelling, punctuation, and grammar. So that's important to bear in mind also. So looking now at the key messages, this is taken from the examiner's reports, which I actually recommend you look at because there is a wealth of information there. And I often think of them as a kind of do's and don'ts, hints and tips and pointers document. Is written by examiners based on their assessment of students' responses. So these are some of the key messages that emerged from one of the examiner's reports. This paper 2, is mainly assessed for writing, so the emphasis is on your written skills, although 10 marks are available also for content reading marks for the directed writing task, question 1. In order to achieve high marks, candidates were required to use an appropriate form, style, and register in both questions. So form is, if it's a story, it looks like a story. If it's a descriptive piece, it has the features of a descriptive piece. If it's a speech, it looks like a speech, and so on. So speech, letter, or article are the 3 text types that you'll be asked. You'll be asked to write one of those 3 text types for question 1, the directed writing task. We want to see evidence that you've structured your piece, the ideas are organized, and that you have put some thought into how to engage the reader and maybe persuade them to your thinking. How are you going to do that through those techniques and devices that we've just mentioned on the previous slide? We want to also, this is thinking about, these are messages for the whole of paper 2. So the last couple of bullet points, this last to one bullet point relates to descriptive writing and narrative writing, which we'll be looking at in a future video. And but we want to try and create detailed and evocative descriptions. We'll be looking at that in more detail in a video yet to come. And the final bullet point is relating to the the ability to use varied sentence types. To achieve different effects, and to also engage and interest the reader and possibly influence the reader too. So those are all comments that examiners have made based on assessments of student responses. So good responses then show an understanding of the task. This is still continuing from the examiner's report. So it shows that you have understood what you're being asked to do, and you are able to really explore in some depth and detail the topic, and you have a clear understanding of that, and you're engaged by it. It's important that you're writing in an appropriate style and format. So if it's a letter, you should demonstrate you know what the conventions around a letter, formal letter are, for example, or an informal letter or a journal entry, whatever the kind of text it is that you're being asked to write. Whatever kind of writing you're being asked to produce, you show that you understand how to write that kind of piece. You want to include ideas from both perspectives. that are presented in the passages. You want to convey your ideas and express them clearly using your own words. It's important to paraphrase ideas because copying just shows you can copy. It doesn't show that you have understood what you have read. And also you're claiming another person's ideas as your own. The words and the phrasing should be your own, right? So demonstrate a good structure and sequence ideas into a coherent response. So that again comes down to planning and thinking about how you're using things like linking words and phrases and connectives to combine and draw together all the ideas in different sentences and link paragraphs to create a whole. So I think of it like a jigsaw puzzle, and paragraphs are the pieces, and you want them all to be linked. The comments that you make should be anchored in ideas given in the reading texts. So looking at those ideas and evaluating them and considering them, maybe kind of questioning some of them or offering your own viewpoint based on what you've been presented with. Use the bullet points in the question as a guide to help you structure your response. And make sure you're reading carefully, scrutinizing thoughtfully. So really, close reading is very important here so you don't miss anything, and also analyzing what's being said. The most effective responses paid specific attention to the audience and style required for the task. So always keep that in your mind. Who are you writing for? What's the purpose? And what kind of writing are you being asked to produce? So that you are matching your vocabulary and the style to those key requirements. So you want to also use ideas from the text and evaluate those ideas and create a structured argument using appropriate devices, some of which we've already mentioned. Weaker responses, on the other hand, just kind of regurgitate, repeat ideas that are presented in the text and don't really pick out relevant ideas and express some views about them, commenting on those ideas and those arguments and maybe questioning or challenging some of them as well. So those are my key that's a summary really of examiners' comments, and it's worth taking that on board to help you understand what makes an effective response. A reminder then that the Cambridge iGCSE English Language Exam Preparation course is still available, and this covers all the key assessment criteria and the skills for success. I go through past paper tasks, walking you through how to produce an effective response with lots of exemplars to illustrate how to produce a good response and what examiners are looking for, plus lots of hints, tips, and advice on doing well in the exams. Join me next time for another Cambridge iGCSE English Language Exam Top Tip.